Welcome to Comics, Beer, and Sci-Fi from the Able Ideas Studio in downtown Detroit. We're having our Halloween episode talking about horror and the related genres, and we're going to tell you what we think about our favorite franchises. Chris, what's your favorite horror?
Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, especially the third one. I just love that. You know, he's got the veins on one of the guys. Dangling him out of the building. To me, that's when all the creative deaths that we see today, whether it's in video games or in other movies, it started with Freddy. Yeah. And he was funny, he was frightening. I always got a kick out of Freddy Krueger. With that being said, I also like Jason and Michael Myers and Exorcist and all these other ones, but for me, it just has to be Freddy Krueger. How about you?
Okay, I'm a big fan of Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, me too.
I like Fifth Element, and when she couldn't get any more of those, she got Resident Evil. Mm-hmm. That was fine. I like to see her shoot people, kick them in the face, split, Absolutely. Get cloned, more the better. If half the world was populated with pretty skinny redheads, I'd be fine with that.
Sequel's coming out next year?
Yeah, right. Can't kill her. Hooray!
Yeah.
And Hellraiser, Pinhead, and Your Fears in a Box. That's about... that's enough about that. Nick, what do you think?
For the month of October in my household, only horror genre films are screened, and those you have to include the original Universals from the 30s and 40s, Wolfman, Frankenstein, all those.
Yeah, we have to give our props to those.
Yes,
for sure.
And the Val Lewton RKO. Original Cat people, I Walk with a Zombie. There's a Val Lewton box set. He was a producer. He was hired to compete with the Universals.
Those were terrifying because we were this big when we saw them.
Great movies, but always got to watch The Exorcist. It's more of actually a drama, I think, than a horror movie. The way it was done. But what a lot of people don't realize is William Peter Blatty, who wrote the original Exorcist, wrote a sequel to it called Legion. And he wrote and directed a film sequel to Legion called Exorcist 3. And it was called Exorcist 3 because Hollywood made a movie sequel called Exorcist 2, which is considered one of the worst movies ever made. Although John Borman was the director and had a lot of talent behind it, it's really a bad movie. But Exorcist 3, starring George C. Scott as the Lee J. Cobb character from the first one, is actually a pretty darn good horror movie. And Us Weekly actually named it the best horror movie you've never seen or maybe it was Entertainment Weekly a few years back. So if you've never seen Exorcist 3, very good horror movie. Not a classic by any stretch, but well worth your time if you like horror genre.
I actually agree with Chris over here. Freddy.
Oh, you do you?
But anyway, like I was saying, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, that's what I grew up on, Chucky. But like my aunt is a big horror fiend. So like I've seen Evil Dead and I don't know if you've ever seen Chud, Cannibalistic Humanoid
Those
Underground
are the 80s, the 80s.
Anybody ever seen a Human Centipede?
I can't bring myself to watch it.
Horrible.
Wait, what was another one? It was supposed to be horror, but it wasn't. They Live. Yeah. With Roddy Piper.
Yep, the aliens.
That was pretty good.
The original, The Haunting, also is a must-see. 1961, Robert Wise directed.
Scariest movie I ever saw when I was growing up was, because it gave me nightmares, was Vincent Price, The Tingler. Black and white, absolutely the scariest movie ever. And because if you accept the premise, you're completely caught up. And I can't tell you what The Tingler is because it would give it away. You have to rent it or see it or view it or Netflix it or something because it's pretty creepy. And don't let any children see it because it's horrible.
I'm going to tell you the scariest movie I've ever seen, and you're going to laugh at me for this when I tell you this.
Okay. Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
No.
It was pretty scary.
I was 5 years old when I seen it.
Yeah.
The Shining?
So you can't... That was scary. Yeah. But I was 5 years old when I seen it. Until this day, I do not mess with this animal. That was Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
That was creepy. Yeah.
Till this day, I will walk down the street, and there will be a bird coming to me. You can have the sidewalk. I'm walking in the middle of the street.
Can I tell you what I did?
You know what? You are absolutely right. You know what? I watched that with my son, and he's a young buck, and we were watching this together, and he was like, Yeah, Dad, this is
Birds are evil.
So that movie definitely withstood.
Can I tell you what I think The Birds was actually about? If you watch The Birds, okay, Tippi Hedren, the birds don't do anything until she decides to take it upon herself to get in the boat and go across, and she goes to buy something for someone. And it's a woman being assertive. Now, what do the British call a woman? A bird. Like we call them chicks or whatever.
Right.
They call them birds. So as soon as Tippi Hedren decides to assert herself away from the role of the submissive, passive woman, the birds respond symbolically by rebelling against
that's
it.
right.
That's commentary on society.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I never read that. I
after
just
all.
kind of
You know what?
watched it. Yeah. So who knows if that's what Hitchcock was thinking? I have
Still
no
gonna be
idea.
scared of birds for now. But still, it's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that. You know, Goosebumps and Outer Limits.
Outer Limits
And
was scary
Tales
as hell.
from
The
Crypt.
remake or the original?
Tales from the
I got the
Crypt.
original.
Yeah, Tales from the
Tales
Crypt on
from the Crypt
HBO.
was
yeah.
the jo- it
You know
was
what?
the joke. It was the best.
you
Night
know what?
Gallery, Rod
Today is a
Serling.
really bad day.
That was
You know
very
why?
scary. I couldn't watch those at all.
Today is a bad day because I'm agreeing with you way too much.
Other TV shows, Rod Serling's Night Gallery from the early 70s, there's 3 seasons, and a little known, William Castle produced The Tingler and several other Vincent Price films from the 60s. William Castle produced a TV show in the early 70s, ran for 1 season called Ghost Story. It was an anthology. Each episode was different. It is on DVD. I watched the whole season, freaking awesome. Episodes written by Richard Matheson, many other great writers, great stars in each one. Ghost Story, check it out.
What about this
And
new
Night
one
Gallery.
that's out, the American Horror Story?
I haven't seen any of those
I haven't
yet.
watched that
I
yet.
haven't really.
American Horror on AMC.
I know I love
Yeah.
Walking Dead. I mean, I know that's kind of the in thing right now, but I love the second half of the 4th season. I felt was a little weak.
Are
but,
vampires even scary anymore since they
Not really. You know what? Twilight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a vampire can go out
yeah.
and
They're too
during the
sexy
day,
now.
then I don't really
Yeah.
care
I
anymore.
don't. Yeah, me either. You know what? I
now
like
turning
Bram
into a-
Come
Stoker's
on now,
Dracula,
you all know
and I
you're
like
a
Dracula
team
from
member.
I like Castlevania. The Dracula from Castlevania was kind of awesome. But let me ask you guys this: how do you feel about the state of horror movies today? Because honestly, within the last 15 years, I think they all kind of suck, with the exception
There is,
of a few.
yeah, there's
I think
there's
the
not a
first
lot
few
going
Paranormal
on.
Activities were good. What my issue with horror movies today, and I just watched Oculus a few days ago and was very disappointed with it, is it seems like in the horror movies today, the good guys lose. They get killed. They get possessed.
And then the
guys
gross
lose.
out
But
factor
it's
too.
not.
It's all about being gross
Too much
out.
vomiting
We were
and yeah.
so simple back then.
Yeah.
though. Somebody jumps out,
Yeah.
stabs you. That was it.
Someone was out to get you.
Someone
It
was out
was
to get
suspense.
you.
It was
Horror
suspense,
was
the
based
music.
on
The
whether or
fact
not it
that
made you
you
jump out of your seat,
yeah.
not the guy on the screen.
Yeah,
It's
and
whether
it's
or not
like-
you lost it or had to go excuse yourself and wipe or something.
But think about this.
And you were afraid to turn out the lights when you went to bed. That's when you
Yeah.
knew you saw a good horror movie.
Everything in this
Exorcist did
world
that to
just
me.
comes around. Everything in the world goes in a circle. Everybody's always trying to copy a formula that works.
Right.
The
Creativity
formula
is
that
well
works
concealed plagiarism.
in movies is just like, that's why they're remaking all of our horror movies.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why there's a new Nightmare on Elm Street, which was actually pretty good, by the way.
What? There was?
Yes,
There
it
is? Who's,
I saw it.
Who's the Robert
Jackie Earl
Englund character?
Haley. Jackie Earl Haley did a good job.
He's good.
That's
He
who
did
played.
a good job.
Why didn't they do a sequel? Did it bomb?
No, it's just people like you.
I saw it.
It's
I
not
know.
Robert
I
Englund.
picked-
It's not
You'll
Robert
have to be
Englund.
more
I'm not
specific
going
than
to
that.
see it
No,
because it ain't
but see,
Robert
that's
Englund.
where you made too many assumptions
You guys have
because I
made, you've
did
gone,
go
you've,
see
fought,
it.
you've gone full circle, and this has been Comics, Spirit, Sci-Fi.